In this video, I make the very bold claim that white South Africans primarily vote not on policy but on race. Yep, yep, that's the claim. I know many of you white South Africans, you imagine to yourselves that you vote on policy. But I'm arguing in this video that no, you don't vote on policy. You vote on race. How do I know this? I'm glad you asked. If you look at many nations in the world, most people in nations in the world will be divided almost evenly on ideological basis, meaning you'll find that, let's just say 30% of the 35% of the population is conservative, will always vote conservative, and 35% is liberal, will always vote liberally, and then there in the middle you have, what do you have there? So that's 70, so you are left with 30% of the population, which is in the middle, or the moderates, which are the ones who often decide elections because they are the ones who change, who vote on issues. They might vote for a liberal party, or they might vote for the conservative party on a particular election, and they decide the elections. The other two blocks, the 35 and the 35, are baked into the fact that they will always vote for a liberal party or a conservative party. You can even take the numbers to say that 33% will always vote liberal, 33% will always vote conservative, and then here in the middle are those who are called moderates, who change their votes based on a particular election cycle. That is the case almost everywhere in the world. I'm going to get back to that another time. In South Africa, though, white South Africans, more than 90% of them vote for white parties. So in this instance, then, it means that the issue here is not the policy. The issue is the race of the people who are leading those parties. What are these parties? It's the Democratic Alliance and the Freedom Front Plus. I know that the Democratic Alliance likes to imagine itself to be a liberal party, but let's be honest now, none of their policies are liberal. Maybe they are socially liberal to moderate, but you could say that they are right-leaning, but more on the moderate right. No one anywhere in the world will consider them as a liberal party or a left-leaning party because they are not. And then the Freedom Front Plus is more of a hard right, firmly conservative party. And it is impossible that 90% of white South Africans are conservative. That's just not possible. That's just not possible. It's statistically impossible, and it's just rationally impossible. Also, here's another argument. You have other parties who are on the same lane as the Democratic Alliance in terms of ideologically and policy-wise. But white South Africans don't vote for those parties. Who are these parties? It's the ActionSA, it's the Good Party of Patricia de Lille, it's Build South Africa of Mmusi Maimane, and it's parties like Rise Mzansi of Songezo Zibi. Those parties are not getting support in mass from white South Africans. White South Africans, 90% of them vote for these two white parties, the Freedom Front Plus and the Democratic Alliance. So the existence of ideologically similar parties to the Democratic Alliance, whom white South Africans don't vote for, is evidence also, as I said, that the voting is not on policy, the voting is on race. Yes, that is what it is. It is race first and then policy second. Let me make an example with regards to the United States of America. When a liberal candidate or a far left candidate runs in a liberal state or a liberal city like California or Los Angeles or San Francisco, it doesn't matter what their race might be. The people there will vote for that person, and those people in the main, they are majority white. In a conservative state or a conservative seat like Florida, Jacksonville, Miami. Yes, Miami is very conservative. Who would have known? It doesn't matter the race of the candidate. The majority of the people there will vote for the candidate if the candidate is conservative. And the majority of the people in that state and in that city like Miami or Jacksonville are white. I can even take it to the point of going as far as to say, even in states that are 90% conservative, like Wyoming, it doesn't matter what the race of the candidate is. Those white rednecks in Wyoming will vote for a conservative candidate, regardless of the race. Same can be said about Arkansas or Kansas or West Virginia. It's the same story with any other liberal city in the world. Where people are liberal, they vote for liberal candidates, regardless of race or color. Where people are conservative, they vote for conservative candidates, regardless of race or color. And I'll tell you further, even said that during primaries, candidates in these places compete on policy. They are not competing on race. There might be an obsession of race among the liberal cities, but even there, they are competing about who will go the furthest to being liberal. Like what is going on in New York City right now with a black or Indian candidate being the front runner. All these liberal cities now have had black mayors for the past 30 years. The Democratic Alliance, though, on the other hand, is, or white South Africans, regardless of where they are in South Africa, all of their voting patterns are towards white candidates. Yes, everywhere in South Africa, white South Africans vote for white candidates. So you can't tell me that there is a competition in the policies when all of the candidates you vote for are white all the time, whether it's in local government or provincial government or in national government. So that will tell me that you are voting on race first and foremost. Policy second. It's similar in terms of how if Herman Mashaba, who has demonstrated himself to be as equally competent with any DA politician, did a good job as a mayor of Johannesburg, probably one of the best mayors that Johannesburg has had in the past 20 years, which is how he ended up launching his own party. Very few white South Africans will vote for him. And if competence was the issue, then you'd see a split, as it is everywhere else in the world, an almost even split. That some of you are expected to not like him, and some of you are expected to like him. So then I would expect at least 30% of you to support him. Because that is normally how it goes in the world. Some people will like you if they look at your policies, and some people won't like you. So you'd expect 30% of you would like him, maybe 35% of you won't like him at all, and then there'll be those in the middle who would then be like, okay, I like this about him, I don't like this about him. But what we see is an almost universal refusal to elect black leaders among the white population of South Africa, and an almost universal we vote for white people. So you can't tell me that your voting is not racial. Your voting is racial. Someone then is going to ask me that, but what about black South Africans? Are black South Africans voting primarily on policy, or are they voting primarily on race? And I am glad you asked that question. You know why I'm glad? Because it's a very important question. Black South Africans also vote primarily on race. Yes, they do. There is no chance in hell that black South Africans are going to vote in mass for a white party. It's not going to happen. So, similar to you, they are not voting on policy. They are voting on race. Does it make it any better? No, it doesn't. It just means that you are the same. Both black and white people in South Africa vote on race. Yeah. It doesn't make it any better that black people vote on race just as you. It doesn't take away from the fact that you vote on race. You vote on race, they also vote on race. Yep. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I said I'm gonna tell you the truth. I didn't say gonna like it. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not gonna go into. So what about Indians and coloreds? Those ones will need me to do a more longer analysis in terms of their voting patterns, and a lot of their self-image, their self-identity, and in terms of Cape Coloreds in particular have a very broken self-identity, and they have a very broken relationship with white South Africans of almost master-slave relationship. That has been well documented in studies, social science studies. Cape Coloreds are the reason why the Democratic Alliance governs the Western Cape, because they are the majority of the population. Cape Coloreds voted for the National Party in 1994. If that doesn't make you sick, that's why their case is a case for another day, because there's a lot of historical trauma, and we are better than black people, but we need to aspire to whiteness sort of mentality. That it's also not policies, it's racial based, and an aspiration to whiteness. That is really what I would call it. And it is deep rooted. It is. I lived and worked with Cape Colors for many years. Those people have serious psychological issues, which explains why they have this tendency of aspiration to whiteness. So which is why I'm saying that they vote on race too. Yeah, they vote on race. Yeah, but I wanted to say that yeah, part of the reason why South Africa can't solve its issues is because South Africans, black, white, colored, are not voting on policies. They are voting on race. If people were voting on policies, there would be enough black South Africans voting for the Democratic Alliance, and there will be enough white South Africans voting for the ANC and the EFF and the ActionSA and the MK and the boss are good, because there's enough of white people who are liberal and left-leaning, and there's enough black South Africans who are conservatives. But none of you are voting on policy. If you are voting on race, yep, yep, yep. It's just what it is.